Good morning, class. We have finally arrived at week 7, that week in which you will be turning in your second Temple paper. Well, I know that it seems like the term has gone by quickly, but remember I told you that it would. So I hope that many of you have really taken my advice and spent the past 6 weeks focusing on research as well as getting maybe a little bit of the writing done. Let me provide you just with some helpful suggestions or hints that will allow you to make sure you get the best possible grade you can. The first thing is in the introduction. Now make sure you do a thorough introduction, but make sure also that you state a thesis. In other words, here's what a thesis statement is. It is what you're going to set out to demonstrate or to prove in the paper. Now, the important part about that thesis is then you have to go about demonstrating or proving that very thesis. So a lot of times that will really come into play more in the second half of the paper rather than the first half. However, you could mix it in there a little bit as well. Also, one of the things that students often overlook is although the book will give you a decent definition of Hellenism, basically it's just Greek culture and how Alexander the Great tried to spread Greek culture across his empire. However, the book does not always do a very good job of explaining the impact that Hellenism had on Jewish life, Jewish culture, and Jewish religion. It had a profound impact, and I want to see some of that. I want you to tell me how Hellenism impacted Judaism and Jewish life and culture. And that's going to probably entail you doing a little research, finding some of that out. And I'd like to see some specific examples. Also, want to make sure that you check your spelling. Really, a lot of times students miss points just because simple spelling errors, simple grammatical errors such as subject and verb agreement, punctuation, just simple things like that. And also make sure that you have the proper form. Make sure your headings are correct. Make sure that your margins are correct. Make sure that the footnotes, obviously the footnote forms are correct. And another important element that is in this paper that you haven't had to deal with is the bibliography. And so you got to make sure you have 5 scholarly sources, and I would encourage you to avoid internet sources. Angelfire, Wikipedia, those types of sources are not appropriate for this kind of paper. So make sure they're scholarly sources, and that will really help you. And I would suggest, although the requirement is 5, really I think to do a good paper that has depth to it, you probably need 7 or 8, maybe 9 or 10 sources to really help flesh out some of these areas, especially in the history, but also when it comes to your own kind of special topic in the second part of the paper. Also, here's very important, the paper is due Friday, okay? Friday at 11:59 p.m. And so make sure you get it done on time. Now, the way that the late policy works for the paper is anything turned in after that, the first week is 10% off. So I suggest you get it done on time so you don't lose that 10%. So make sure, and if you have any questions, just look over the late assignment policy. Also, listen, if you guys can do me a favor and fill out maybe next week, don't worry about it this week, but next week, but if you have time, do it this week, the end of the term surveys. They really like to get those in. It really helps us do a better job of curriculum, as well as do a better job of teaching, how I can be of more assistance and help to you guys. So make sure that you just take all that into account. And guys, listen, if you need any help, got any questions, just simply shoot me an email. Got an email late last night from a student, had some questions about the paper, and just kind of simple little things that they just wanted to know about their specific topic that they're looking to write on in the second half of the paper. And so I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Well, the term is winding down. I just want to encourage you, carve out time this week, write, research, do what has to be done. Make sure you also do a good conclusion, wrapping up the paper, summarizing what you have found, summarizing your conclusions, okay? A lot of times students just forget the conclusion, and that, of course, loses points. Anyway, took a look at the rubric. That will really help you understand what we're looking for in the grading rubric, and that'll be what it's about, man. All right, guys, really excited, thankful for you guys. You guys have shown great improvement throughout this term, and so I really appreciate your hard work. All right, again, just get in touch with me if you have any questions. Listen, have a great week.